In the heart of a gray city, a young woman named May worked in a factory. Every day, her dreams of singing drowned in the clatter of machines. She hummed quietly at work, a melody no one heard, but inside her, the voice was waiting, like a bird trapped in a cage. One day, her coworkers heard her singing and laughed. "Factory girls don't become singers," they jeered. Her cheeks burned with shame. But May refused to give up. At night, she sang at a small street corner, her voice floating above the city lights. Few stopped to listen. One evening, a music producer walked past. He stopped not for the crowd, but for her trembling, powerful voice. He gave her a chance. The factory girl stepped onto a real stage for the first time, lights blazing, heart pounding. When she sang, silence fell. The same voice mocked in the factory now lifted hundreds of hearts at once. Years later, May returned to the factory not as a worker, but as a guest on the radio. From factory dust to stardust.
Ordinary people, extraordinary heroes. Subscribe now.
In a rural village, a young man named Aaron dreamed of teaching, but without a degree. Schools shut their doors on him. Villagers whispered, "He's no teacher, he's just pretending." Their laughter cut deep, but Aaron refused to let go of his dream. One afternoon, a few curious children followed him. Beneath an old banyan tree, he began to teach with chalk on broken slates. At night, he taught by candlelight. His classroom was not made of walls, but of hope. Soon, the children who once couldn't read began writing letters to their parents. The same villagers who mocked now watched in awe. But when the officials came, they reminded him, no degree, no recognition. Aaron bowed, but did not break. Years later, when those children grew up, they returned. Doctors, farmers, teachers, every one of them said, "We are here because of him." Aaron never held a certificate, but he held something greater, the love and respect of those he lifted, the truest degree of all.
Ordinary people, extraordinary heroes. Subscribe now.
Every dawn, when the city still slept, Mira, a street sweeper, began her work. To most she was invisible. But in the lines she drew with her broom, she whispered poems no one heard, verses about life, dignity, and dreams. Every night, she wrote on scraps of paper, crumpled pages, hidden in her small bag, words she never dared share. One morning, a young journalist dropped his wallet. Mira returned it along with a shy smile that carried a secret. He saw the notebook peeking from her bag. Curious, he read a line aloud, "The streets may be dirty, but my soul is not." Days later, her poem appeared in the city newspaper. For the first time, her voice reached beyond the streets. Soon, schools invited her, writers praised her. The same broom that once silenced her, now swept open doors of respect. Mira never stopped sweeping. But now, every line she wrote reminded the world, beauty can rise from the dust.
Ordinary people, extraordinary heroes. Subscribe now.
Raj, an old fisherman, pushed his boat to sea every day, yet came home empty-handed. His net was torn, and so was his hope. Villagers pitied him. Some laughed. A fisherman with no fish is no fisherman at all. Under the lantern's glow, Raj stitched his broken net, thread by thread, whispering a prayer with every knot. One night, a storm raged. Boats capsized. Cries for help echoed through the darkness. Raj cast his patch net not for fish, but for lives. He pulled man after man from the raging sea. When the storm cleared, the shore was lined with men alive because of Raj's net. Villagers no longer mocked him. They whispered, "A broken net once caught no fish, but tonight it caught our future." Raj never became rich, but his broken net became the strongest net of all, the net that saved lives.
He wore the same pair of worn-out shoes every day, patched with tape and thread. People laughed at him. But to him, they were more than just shoes, they were survival. Every step on the factory floor echoed with exhaustion. The machines roared, drowning out dreams, but inside his heart, a fire burned quietly. His coworkers mocked him by new shoes, if you want to be somebody. But he only smiled, because he wasn't saving for shoes, he was saving for freedom. After long shifts, he walked miles home, shoes barely holding together. But at night, he opened books, teaching himself what no school had given him. He took the risk. With every coin he saved, he bought materials, tools, and finally, he built his first prototype shoe, a shoe designed not to break, no matter the hardship. He wore his new creation to work. No more holes, no more shame. His shoes were strong, just like him. From 1 pair to 10, from 10 to thousands, his shoes carried not only workers like him, but athletes, students, and dreamers across the world. His success wasn't born in comfort, but in struggle. The world once laughed at his broken shoes, but now, they walk in the brand he built.
Ordinary people, extraordinary heroes. Subscribe now.
She stood at the train station, holding her child's tiny hand, with just one suitcase and no plan. Life had left her with nothing except the promise to keep going for her son. She took on 2 jobs, cleaning offices by day, waiting tables by night. Sleep was a luxury, but her child's smile was worth every aching muscle. At night, when her boy was asleep, she sat by the window, crying silently into her hands. She wondered if she could carry this weight alone. One day, she overheard a colleague talking about a training program for bridge construction. With no money and no connections, it felt impossible, yet she signed up. She trained harder than anyone, learning, lifting, failing, and trying again. She was mocked for being a woman in construction, but she refused to quit. Years later, she stood on the bridge she helped build. It wasn't just steel and stone, it was the proof of her resilience. She rose through the ranks, becoming a project manager, leading teams that once doubted her. Her son, now older, watched proudly as his mother became the bridge between despair and hope. She once had nothing. Now, she had built bridges for a city and for her own life. She proved that no matter how broken the road, you can build your own path forward.
Ordinary people, extraordinary heroes. Subscribe now.
In a village plagued by drought, a farmer looked at his cracked land and sighed, his harvest long gone. All he had left was a small pouch of seeds, saved for his family's survival. His children begged him not to plant. "We need to eat, Father," but his heart whispered hope. With the last seed, he bent down, pressing it into the unforgiving soil, planting not food, but faith. Days turned to nights, stomachs ached, but he watered the soil with every drop he could save. One morning, a tiny sprout broke through, fragile, but alive, a miracle against despair. That single seed grew into a field, feeding not just his family, but the whole village. The farmer taught them, seeds are more than food, they are tomorrow. His last seed became everyone's first.
Subscribe now for more powerful stories.
He had taught for 40 years. Now, on her final day, the room felt both silent and alive. Every name, every smile, every tear, still written on his heart like chalk on the board. The bell rang one last time, but this time, he wasn't saying goodbye. When he stepped outside, hundreds were waiting. He had taught lessons in math, in words, but her greatest lesson was love. In that moment, he wasn't just a teacher, he was a life changer. He looked at the young teachers in the crowd and whispered, "Never forget, you are shaping tomorrow." His classroom was empty, but his lesson would live forever in every life he touched.
Ordinary people, extraordinary heroes. Subscribe now.
On a cold night, a man with nothing left held on to the one thing he still had, his guitar. He had no home, no money, but when he strummed the strings, his soul poured out. People hurried past, some glanced, most ignored, until a little girl stopped to listen. She dropped a single coin into his cup, the first sound of hope he'd heard in years. more people stopped. His music carried warmth, pulling strangers closer, melting the cold night. That corner turned into a stage not of fame, but of connection. A stranger offered him a place to play, a cafe stage, a second chance. He wasn't homeless anymore. His music had found its home in the hearts of those who believed.
Subscribe now for more powerful stories.